Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another movie review, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This movie is a comedy from the USA, English language, released in the year 2019, directed by Jim Hosking, and this film is called An Evening with Beverley Luff Linn. So An Evening with Beverley Luff Linn opens up in a fast food restaurant. You've got a husband who is the boss and a wife who works behind the counter with other people. So at the start of the film, this boss's boss actually tells him he has to get rid of one of his staff because they're overcrowded, and so he decides that his wife is to go. So this initially doesn't have any negative consequences, but it soon becomes apparent that there is a little bit of animosity between them. So there's a very monotonous marriage that they have. The husband is all self-absorbed and there's not a lot of love between them. But the monotony in their life is about to be shattered when this wife catches a glimpse of a flyer that tells the town that Beverley Luff Linn is actually travelling there to perform for one magical night only. Now, Beverley Luff Linn is a very mysterious male performer, and he has captivated the wife. We don't know why, but it soon becomes apparent that she's obsessed. And so she's so obsessed that she ends up running away from the husband in order to go to this show. So the husband is mystified. He doesn't know what he's done wrong, but he starts to suspect it has something to do with Beverley Luff Linn. So he hires a private investigator to do a bit of investigating in order to try and get the true identity behind this guy and how he is connected to his wife if he is ever to win her back. But then as the private investigator starts to delve deeper into the truth, this is where a web of complications come about that has outrageous results. So what happens at that point on is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on An Evening with Beverley Luff Linn. I was very excited to see this film because Jim Hosking was the director, but I was also sceptical because of the fact Jim Hosking was the director. Now, his other movie, The Greasy Strangler, I thought that had a lot of potential. It was actually funny in parts, but unfortunately that was a victim of overkill. And so I was excited because this guy actually is funny and he has a very vivid imagination, but I was sceptical because he tends to go over the top. It's like that funny guy who says a joke and he keeps saying it to everybody and it starts to lose its impact. And so that's the best way I can sum up The Greasy Strangler. I know that movie has a cult following, but for me, it just didn't work. It became very irritating. So I only gave that one 1.5 stars. So it's not the best sort of template to come into An Evening with Beverley Luff Linn. But as I said, I like his style, and so that's why I was excited. But that skepticism actually leveled down those expectations, and I was giving this movie every opportunity to impress me. And at the end of the day, I will say that An Evening with Beverley Luff Linn isn't a masterpiece, but I thought it was an absolutely hilarious experience that I would highly recommend to anybody who's not only a fan of The Greasy Strangler, but a fan of comedies in general, because this is everything that a comedy should be, is that it has larger-than-life characters, very colourful, lovable sort of idiots, but at the same time a very heartwarming underlying story that keeps you captivated. Is that I thought that The Greasy Strangler was set piece after set piece of grotesque people doing grotesque things to each other, and I thought as though there was much more of a face value instead of something with a core sort of heart, whereas The Evening with Beverley Luff Linn seems like a much more well-rounded experience, is that you have larger-than-life characters that are very awkward. Jim Hosking demonstrates a lot of different styles of comedy. You've got slapstick comedy, you've got comedy on a visual basis, you've got deadpan humour, where it's all about the characters and the actors playing off each other in a very serious tone that makes it very funny. And so Jim Hosking demonstrates how talented he is in this genre, and he actually is able to show the audience just how truly good he can actually be in a world that he creates in a very caricature manner, and he's giving you an insight into his wonderful imagination. It's basically inviting you to spend 90 minutes in a world that is so far over the top, but has, as I said, that likeable, lovable, sort of larger-than-life atmosphere that's very heartwarming as well. It's a very charming film, and I thought that charm gives it that more three-dimensional experience, and that three-dimensional experience captivates you. I thought, strangely, this story was something I actually wanted to know how it would unfold. I wasn't watching the movie just for the comedy on its own. And so the comedy plays very well off its serious tone, but the serious tone is never clouding the fact that it wants to be a comedy. And so the comedy is expertly handled. I thought the script was fantastic, and it gets the best out of the all-star cast. You've got Emil Hirsch, who plays the boss, who I thought was this guy who wanted to become, he wanted to express himself as a macho man, but he just come across as a bumbling idiot. You got Aubrey Plaza, who plays the very awkward and offbeat wife. You've got Craig Robinson, who was one of the better characters in the movie, playing Beverley Luff Linn, this guy who couldn't talk, he was just grunting in a very strange way. And you've also got Jermaine Clement, who I thought was the best character in this film. He was the best part of this story. He's playing the private investigator, which once again, he comes across as this macho man, but he's a bumbling idiot. And so that those awkward exchanges between each and every one of these characters just made it something that was so bizarre, so random, but at the same time, as I said, there's a strong purpose, and that purpose was missing in the Greasy Strangler. And so I thought as though, alright, well, he's taken the good things about Greasy Strangler, and he's left behind the negatives that the movie had, and he's capitalised upon it to demonstrate just how true, as I said, just how good this guy can truly be. So you've got a cinematography that is absolutely fantastic. As I said, it feels like you're going into someone's imagination. You've got the caricature characters who are, is complemented very well by an outrageous soundtrack that is very reminiscent of the Greasy Strangler. So if you like the soundtrack Greasy Strangler, you will like how a Beverley Luff Linn comes about in its in the music. So I thought that was very good. But as I said, that story is the base of the film, and the story keeps it floating, and you're having a lot of fun in trying to get the clues as to the mystery of Beverley Luff Linn. And so if it sounds like your kind of thing, I just thought this was an absolutely fantastic experience, so much better than I was thinking, and it just surprised me immensely. And I will say that I will go as far to say that this is one of the best comedies of 2019 so far. So as a result of that, go out there and see it. I'm going to give An Evening with Beverley Luff Linn 4.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.